give it a go. But we will have a listen to the loop here I made. You see a cool way I use the Spellbook, modulating all of these effects. See the phaser, and the wet dry knob of the reverb, and the panning. Very nice way to use it, create some space. We can have a look at the low end section because first we have the, let's see, the kick, doom, doom. Just simple kick. This is the original. Made a bit more dull. You see here, I'm mapping the MIDI. This MIDI goes into this one and triggers the second kick. So I only have this pattern which triggers both kick drums. You can do that here in this monitor in MIDI from, and you just choose the channel that you want to have MIDI from. This can be a very interesting way to make melodies. Also, let's say you have only one melody and you send the MIDI to 4 different instruments, and then you have different effects on each instrument. Maybe one of them has a lot of reverb, so it makes a pad from the same melody as the main sound, and then you can have it to a second instrument which maybe have very high pitched sounds from the same melody, which kind of like glitters and creates some space. And yeah, I made a track actually. It's called Cosmic Serpent. I'm not sure if you heard it. I will link it to you. And we can actually maybe have a listen. Serpent. This is not very good. The mix is not very good. I didn't really know much about mixing when I made this track, but this whole track is made with only one kick drum and a melody. And this melody is sent to like 10 different synthesizers. So basically I just pressed play and the whole track just unfolded. So when you opened the arrangement window here, you could only see like kick pattern here, and the whole was empty here. It was only empty. I think actually the melody comes from the kick drum also. So I sent the kick drum MIDI into different MIDI effects to create the melody, and then the melody was sent over again to different instruments and tweaked in different ways. So when I pressed play, it just sounded like this. Different LFOs working in and out of each other. Also the drum coming in is from the kick drum going into a percussive drum rack. Pretty cool that this is made only with one kick drum. So yeah, that's one way. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the kick drums. And then we have the second deeper kick drum. You have some slightly slower attack, so that the other kick drum hits before it, and then this one comes with the body afterwards. Yeah, I even have side chain compression on this kick, so that they don't hit at the same time. The gain of this kick is lowered when the other kick hits, and then when the other kick dies, this one comes in with a zzz, zzz, zzz. And some compression on the low end. The multi-band dynamics in Ableton is a very, 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 very nice multi-band compressor. The bass line has some compression. You see here, to really make it more stable, you see all of these wild. Okay, I have actually 4 compressors on it. Okay, I just installed these on my new computer, so maybe I haven't activated them. Can I do it fast? Yep. So this is a bit faster compressor. You see it moves. It has a soft knee, so it makes it a bit more smooth. And then in the end, I have a slow here. I have a slow compressor that catches even more of it. And I have a multi-band compressor working in the midfield on this resonant kind of sound, which can be very overpowering in the mix. And then I have even more compression here. See, this kind of gave a bit more click and some firmness to the bottom. Let's see, we will try these pedals, adding some distortion, and then the bass. Basically the same volume. See, when I turn it on, it's not louder in volume, but it's much more punchy. Those of you who don't know, the glue compressor, it's modeled after the SSL 4000 G compressor. Maybe you have seen it. I can show you. It's this one. This is the same as this one. And this is one of the best bus compressors ever made. It's made with no, it doesn't reduce the resolution in the sound. It changes the dynamics though, so you have less dynamics. And dynamics is the range from the high amplitude volume to the low volume. So if you have a lot of irregular volume, for instance, maybe let's say you have maybe we can try it. Let's see if I can manage to we will make a new MIDI track here, and I will try to demonstrate. Should be possible. Let's see, we have the drum machines. Let's take a 909, put it here. Where's the kick drum? Let's see here, the kick. put different, wait, different volume here, wait. Okay, this is not a good example though, because this is the velocity not only changes the volume, it also changes the tone of the kick. Okay, well, okay, the principle is that, let's say you have 3 kick drums and then there's one kick drum in the end that's lower in volume. You can put a compressor on the peaks so that they go down, so that the whole loop is more stable. But what I do here, you ask if it changes the resolution. What I do here is to shape the sound, the how do you say, the envelope of the sound. So basically, for instance, here we will have a listen here. Sorry, I will delete this. And I appreciate that you ask questions. It makes it a bit easier for me to have something to a direction here. So see here, for instance, without this, you have the beat, and now you have a compressor coming in, and it has a attack of 3 milliseconds, which means that the first 3 milliseconds of the kick drum is the same volume, and after 3 milliseconds it decreases the amplitude. And this, the result of this is that the click of your kick drum comes a bit higher compared to the rest, which gives you a bit more punch. And this is very important when you work with dance music, because the click and the snap of your sounds really are important when you push it on big speakers in clubs. It really makes it more punchy and gives more energy. Let's have a listen, and you can hear how the click of the kick becomes a bit more apparent. So it's almost as I used an equalizer to just pull up the high frequencies, but it's the same, only that I lowered the other frequencies. And like this, it doesn't sound very good. You hear the distortion, but distortion is nice. We don't use enough distortion in deep techno yet. No, this does not affect the bit depth. No, it doesn't change the resolution at all. Yeah. No, it doesn't. That's a bit different topic than this. The bit resolution only controls how precise the sampling is of your project. For instance, you have let's see here, the audio. I don't know where the hell do I change that here. I don't know. I haven't really done that here. Yeah. Here you have the bit depth for the recordings, and then you have the sample rate, and that means that 44,100 times it samples the signal to create the sound that we hear. Okay, and the bit depth, if you choose 16 or 24 bits, only affects the detail of every single sample. So when you're using it samples 44,000 times per second, and every time it samples the sound, when you have a 24-bit resolution, you have more accuracy. Actually, it's 24 times 8, so you have 192 different options. So as the airwave moves up and down, it is calculated against 192 different values. Yes, that is correct, Tifson. And since we can only hear 20,000 hertz at the most, although most of us probably hear 18,000 or even 16 or 14,000. So if you have a 44,000 sample rate, that means you can record 22,000 hertz, which is more than we can hear. But the bit depth divides the value into 192 different decibels. So for instance, when it's completely silent, it's 0, and when it's at 0 dB here, it's 192, and then you have 192 steps from minimum to maximum. And when you're using 16 bits, it's 128 steps, so it's not as detailed. So using a higher bit depth, I would recommend you actually to use 24 bits, because it improves your sound quality quite a lot. Using 44, I don't remember actually, Tifton. It might be, and the reason why you need to have double the sample rate is because when you have a let me pull up a sine wave again. Let's use the LFO here. When the sine wave moves like this, if it moves 20 up and down 20,000 times per second, as in 20,000 hertz, if your sampler is only going at the same speed, it will miss the peaks, because it will clock it there, and you will just have a flat signal, or maybe it just samples it there, and it's not accurate. So you need to have twice the speed, so it's fast enough to keep up with the signal, so that it can calculate the reading. So actually you can use even faster. I mean, you see here you have many record with 96,000, for instance. You see now it's different speed there. And this can be a problem when you are mixing different sources that has different sample rates. It can become slower and longer. It can have some timing issues, but this is pretty advanced things that we rarely encounter any problems with when we work the way we do in electronic music. But having a 44,000 sample rate is usually enough. In broadcasting, like movies, they use 48. It's a standard. For recording, in professional studios, they almost always use 96,000 and 24-bit. Some even use twice that. Let's see, how much is that? 96,000 times 2. So they have a sample rate of 192,000 times per second, which means that it really samples like there, and it goes really, really, really fast. You get a really precise reading. When what they do sometimes is they use a lower bit depth. So for each sampling that they made, like there, they have less options. So it's more like, let's say they use only 2 bits or 1 bit. They could use 1 bit, and in 1 bit you have 8 options. So for every reading you have 8 steps. So as it reads it so fast, if it moves a long distance within that short period of time, it's 8. And then it really just maps it very fast, like bam, 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 bam. So it's an uncommon way to use it, but I have seen it in some professional gear that supports such fast sample rates. But yeah, there's some education on that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's interesting to know these things, and you can use it to your advantage. For instance, it's good to have knowledge enough so that you can actually start using 24-bit in your productions, because you get more headroom if you use 24 bits, which means you have more dynamics, and you can have a higher resolution in your music. Yeah, that's true. Although a mastering engineer should be professional enough to be able to handle any material basically that he's given. Of course, some are established enough to say no. In our scene, I think most of the engineers that I have encountered, they are flexible. But yeah, of course, if you go to really high-end or a very picky engineer, they can ask you to send your project in a specific format. And for this, I was talking about the glue compressor, which is modeled after the SSL compressor, which is really an amazing hardware compressor that has been used on thousands of gold-selling records in every genre. It has a very interesting circuitry, which is very fast and predictive, and it works. It's really amazing to use it on your buses. Like if you have many different, for instance. Just tightens it up, and don't be scared if you can't really put your finger on the difference, or if you have a trouble to hear the difference, because compression takes a lot of practice and experience to hear. We are not humans are not made really, or we are not conditioned to hear changes in dynamics in day-to-day life, because there are no compressors in real life. This is a phenomenon that we have invented when we make music. So the only way to start learning to hear what a compressor does is by using compressors and experimenting with them to see the different effects. And of course, I will do my best to teach you progressively on how to think when you set up your compressor. I already made a post on Patreon about some guidelines how to set up your compressor. What else do we have here? Interesting. What's this? Oh, this is from my modular. All of my modular samples are available for the Wizard tier and above. If you subscribe to the Wizard tier, you can download all my modular sounds. It's not a lot of sounds right now because it's quite new, but I've been working on the Entogen album and I don't use my modular at all Now I'm done with that, so now I will start using my modular more, and everything that I record goes into this folder, and it's updated frequently. I have everything I do on my computer is always synced to my Google Drive, so every time I hit save, for instance, on my project, it's immediately synced to the cloud, so that if someone steals my computer, I can just buy a new one and download my projects again. And I trust that Google have better security on their hard drives than I do. For instance, if I have it on my computer and it breaks down, maybe I have a backup on my external hard drive, but that takes a lot of effort, I feel, to constantly move it there, and I don't like to have a lot of things. For instance, if I do that, then eventually I will have 15 hard drives, and I don't know which hard drive I have which project, and it's easier for me just to have everything on one big cloud where everything is in the same place. Yeah, I remember many years ago, I heard many people losing so much, like Steve Angelo from Swedish House Mafia, for instance. His laptop was stolen in Ibiza, and he lost like all his projects. So stupid. And I remember Luigi also sometime had a hard drive breakdown, and he lost so much work. And I know Blender also. It happens to a lot of people, so I'm very careful with backing up what is important. Although losing everything is not the end of the world either, because I have the knowledge to make new music, so it's okay. But yeah, these sounds, you can download them if you have the Knights, the Wizard tier. Okay, it's not sounding. Ah, that's why. Hey, Alan. We're just about to finish up here, I think. Yeah, some high sounds. That's basically it. Yeah, I think actually that's it for today. In the future,